Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman, and on this stream we work on Python, we work on Django apps, we build stuff, we work on exercises, we do stuff that helps folks like yourself learn. So join us as we work through some of these things. We're going to do a Python exercise first, or maybe a couple of them, because some of these look pretty easy because we're jumping into a new section of this app. And then we're going to work on my Django application and continue to build out features. You're welcome to ask me anything about Python, Django, or web development. I'm going to leave a note here in the comments about Python, Django, or web dev. And if you like this content, please like, subscribe, comment below. All of those things help me get found by other people, and I'm happy to engage with you in that discussion. So I've already got a problem downloaded. This is from Exercism. It's a site we've been using, and we're going to get to it. This one is about reversing strings. Now, in other languages, this might be considered a hard problem, but Python, being very dynamic, makes this pretty easy. This is a one-liner that will get this problem done. I'll talk through the bits of it, and then we will move on to another example. So let's have both of these open side by side. So we want to have we want to have this guy, and we want to have the other one, which is not appearing here. Where am I? PWD. Ah, it's in the wrong directory. Okay. I had another problem downloaded earlier, so let's try that again. Let's have these tests up. So here are the tests that it's going to try and run through. And we can run the tests and see that they fail. And our job is to implement them. So we have text. We're going to assume that it's a string. We can see from all these test cases that it is a string. So that's not much to it. So our job is to produce a solution. Now you can see already that they, in the test file, have given you potentially a way to solve this problem. Or no, that's not true. This is the name of the function. Excuse me. I thought they had put the solution right in the test files, which would have been silly. That's how easy this problem is. It's not much to it. So we can treat a response. I guess first of all, what are we doing? Maybe that wasn't obvious. We are taking a string and literally reversing it character by character. So something like cool becomes Luke. So that's the problem given to us. So one way that we can approach this, there are multiple ways, but the way I'm going to approach this is going to treat a string like an iterable. So strings, you can iterate through them. You can go through them one character at a time and do something. And we could go through this in a loop and then make a list and append those characters together and then make a new string out of that. But we don't need to. Instead, what we can use is a slice. Slices are ways to take chunks of a list. So we want a slice that takes all of the list, but then you can do steps that affect how that slice is processed. So there's a third option in the slice syntax. It's actually the step. So the step can make it so that you can skip over a certain number of pieces in a list. So you can go every second element or third, but it can also use a negative number. So you can actually iterate backwards by using -1. So our solution should be taking a slice. We want the whole thing, so we're not going to put any first thing, although I guess we could put 0 there. We could also put a -1 for the second thing, which would indicate the end of the list, but we don't really need that either. But we're going to do 2 colons, and then we want the third thing in the slice syntax, which would be a -1. So by doing that, we now have this implementation here of this function. And if we run these tests, we see that everything passes. So pretty easy problem to start with, assuming that you know about slice syntax, which maybe you didn't, but now you do. So we're going to submit that, and we're going to move on to the next exercise. I'm going to do more than one this evening just because that was so quick. It was hardly a warm-up. So we'll say reverse string.py, submit that to Exercism, go over to the website here, and make sure that our solution is there. And that it passes. We already saw that it passed. We can look at community solutions. I think they're all going to be pretty boring. But you can see there is some variance. Like this one is so short, we can just look through these in the preview. Normally there's enough code here that you can't do this, but you can see the entire thing here. So someone has taken a string as wrapping it as an input. I guess they're trying to make sure that it's a string. I'm not really sure why they did that. Here's the looped version that I was talking about. That's another way to do it. Here's the version I did that has the : -1. And someone did this as a lambda. You can make this even shorter. So there's not a lot of nice short constructions of this. Then there are some that are longer. So I don't know what this person was doing here. They got an answer, so good for them, I guess. But hopefully they learned something by checking out these other answers. There's a lot of powerful options here. All right, so that's string reversal. Let's just submit this, mark it as complete, and move on to the next one. So why was that so easy? It probably has to do with the last time I was streaming, we finished the end of the syllabus. We went through all the basics and all of these things, and we're down through the whole tree, and we got all the way to classes, and we finished the exercise that was associated with classes. And now we're just in the regular pool of exercises, which probably has us jumping back in a list of things that are available, which we can probably see from the overview. Well, I guess they still list them in order, but the exercises for a while may be kind of easy before we get into some harder stuff that will actually challenge our thinking and have us doing some problem solving. So let's go now back to the exercise list and pick the next one. And who knows, maybe I'm going to get surprised and some of these will be easier here too, but we'll see. So this is resistor color. So the first thing I do the first thing I want to do before reading this is to go ahead and download this and get it going. So we have it downloaded now locally. The reason that I'm doing these locally is I want to have my tooling set up so that I'm ready to work with Python. If you're getting into Python for the first time, there is an online editor which lets you dabble with Python, and you can probably do, I'm sure you can do all of the exercise with the online editor, but I would encourage you to set up your stuff locally so that it forces you to get comfortable with Python and having that on your machine and knowing how to work with it there. So now we have resistor color there, and we can close this test file. And I'm going to take this because there's some funkiness about how Exercism provides these things. And we want to go to resistor color. And the first thing I want to do is create this configuration file that'll save us from seeing some warnings. Don't worry about that if it doesn't make too much sense to you. It doesn't need to. Let's have this be at the resistor color directory. And then we want to have two files up side by side. So we've got our tests here, which we can run. We can see that they fail. So we're ready to run our code and actually implement this. So let's look at what this is about. I have no idea. This is my first time encountering this. If you want to build something using a Raspberry Pi, so it's a small computing device, you probably use resistors, okay? For this exercise, you need to know two things about them. Each resistor has a resistance value, and resistors are small. So small, in fact, that if you printed the resistance value on them, it would be hard to read. This is true. I was a computer engineer in college, and I had to do things with resistors, and all of these statements are accurate so far. To get around this problem, manufacturers print color-coded bands onto the resistors to denote their resistance values. Each band has a position and a numeric value. The first two bands of a resistor have a simple encoding scheme. Each color maps to a single number. In this exercise, you're going to create a helpful program so you don't have to remember the values of the bands. These colors are encoded as follows. Black is 0, brown 1, red 2. You can read the rest of those as well as I can. I'm not going to go through them all. We're going to code them all in a minute, so we'll probably need that. But the goal of this exercise is to create a way to look up the numerical value associated with a particular color band to list the different color bands. So mnemonic maps the colors to the numbers that, when stored as an array, happen to map to their index in the array. Be right, better be right, or your great big values go wrong. Okay, I don't know that I want to remember that mnemonic. So I don't really see the problem here that they want us to do. They gave us, so they want to give us a color code and get the number out of it. Is that really it? The whole thing? Okay, so what does the colors do? colors returns a list. Really? This is a bizarre problem to me. I'm not really sure what they're trying to teach us here. Just how to make some functions? I don't know. So we want to have a color code list by the color. So the simplest way to do this would be, there's a number of ways we can do this with if-else statements. We could have a dictionary, which is probably the route I'll go with. I don't want to define this dictionary every single time the function runs. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I want to have a map dictionary of the color name to the different values. So I'm going to actually just come over here and steal this because they have the order that is required for this problem. Let's just start there. I thought I didn't grab all of those, but okay, that's a good enough start. And then we can, what's going on? Okay, so this is not, right now this is a set. We haven't defined the other side. So we want to go to, I guess we can go to the comma, we can do, whoops, go to the comma, do an insert, and do colon. And I think they were just numerically increasing by 1, right? 1, 2, 3, yep, all the way up to 9. So I'm gonna go here and just first, there's probably faster way, not probably, I know there are faster ways to do this, especially if you had an editor with a multi-cursor select operation. That could have been one thing, and even with Vim, that would have been possible with the right motion, but I didn't feel like doing that. So we're going to fix all of these values to match to their number. And then once we're done, we'll be ready to use this number system with the function. So now we have this local module level dictionary that we can use. And then here we can return, we're going to, it doesn't say that we have to pass in, or we can assume probably that based on the tests that are here, that we're always going to be given a valid color. And it's not even going to be like the wrong case or anything like that. There's ways that we could make this more robust by guarding against some of these things. Like what if I gave you magenta or something like that? It wouldn't show up in that list. But for this problem, we can do an access of our dictionary like that. And then for getting the colors themselves, we can take our colors object and we can return the keys out of that. So if we do colors keys, we might have to turn that into a list because that might be some kind of interval type that won't quite match. But let's see if that worked. Yeah, it thinks it's dictionary keys when it expected a certain list. So instead of doing keys, let's wrap this in a list, which will transform the type to match what's expected by the expected output. And now we have the same tests, but they're passing. So that is this whole exercise. We've done 2 exercises in a little over 10 minutes maybe, and that's been me talking and getting most of these things. How about we do a third one, because again, this is we're at the easier end of these problems, so they're nice and quick to work through. So let's submit this. We're going to go to resistor color, and we want to do exercism submit. If I could type colors resistor color.py. Okay. So we'll take a look at this. We'll look at community solutions briefly. I imagine they're going to be pretty similar to mine, although there is some variety that we could probably see. But ours is passing. Let's look at the community solutions. Somebody has, well, let's take a look at just 2 of these because they're not that much here. So somebody hard-coded the list here. And oh, that's a clever way to go. They call colors and then they call the index number on that color. I like that. That's kind of flipping around. So I created a thing that was external. The downside of this approach is that it creates this list every time colors is called. So maybe not the most efficient thing in the world, but you know, it's functional. So nice job, Ed Code. That's an interesting way to go about this. And then Flush here has the color dictionary, which is what I did. Does the color dictionary lookup, and then colors. So they went through the keys using a list comprehension. That's another way to go about this. So keys is kind of returns something similar without doing the comprehension. That's another way. Totally valid. Good job for Flesh. Whatever. Nice work. Okay, so we're going to submit our version. Should now be here. We're going to mark it as complete. And then we'll go to more exercises. Let's move to it. We'll do one more, and then we'll switch over to actual Django stuff. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. That's what it's there for. We're doing some pretty basic Python stuff right now, but I'm happy to answer more complicated questions if you have them. Or if you have questions about what I've done so far, you're welcome to ask me about those too. Okay, so we need to download this exercise. And we've got that in place. I want to take this PyTest configuration. I didn't even rename that file, right? So that probably I was giving the warnings and I wasn't even seeing it. That's okay. So this is called twofer. So PyTest ini. Paste that stuff in there. And we'll change directory into the twofer directory. We'll look here. And then have the tests. All right. We run our tests and we see that everything's failing. We've got 3 failing tests. We're ready to go. Let's look at what this problem is about. In some English accents, when you say 2 for quickly, it sounds like twofer. 2 for 1 is a way of saying that if you buy one, you'll also get one free. So the phrase twofer often implies a 2 for 1 offer. Imagine a bakery that has a holiday offer where you can buy 2 cookies for the price of 1, a 2 for 1 deal. You go for the offer and very generously decide to give the extra cookie to a friend. All right. Interesting introduction. So your task is to determine what you will say as you give away the extra cookie. If your friend likes cookies and is named Duyan, then you will say 1 for Duyan, 1 for me. That's an interesting name. If your friend doesn't like cookies, you give the cookie to the next person in line at the bakery. Since you don't know their name, you'll instead say you instead. 1 for you, 1 for me. So here are some examples. 1 for Alice, 1 for me. 1 for Bowden, 1 for me. 1 for you, 1 for me. 1 for Zaphod, 1 for me. If your friend likes, how do they, okay. I'm interested. What is going, oh, okay. So if no name is provided, they don't make that very clear to me. So this is showing no input. So we need to have, this can optionally be a none. That's what's going to make that test pass. And now we get this. Okay, so we haven't returned a string yet. Let's start by doing that. And now we're going to get some failing tests because our empty string doesn't match the strings that they expect. And this is going to be we're going to use a format string here. So we'll use a format string by adding f, and then we'll say 1 for, and then we'll put name here. 1 for me. That should be enough to make the last 2 tests pass. And now we have one more, which is now a none value. So we're going to check for that none value. So we'll say if name is none, which would imply that it was called with no arguments. Then we'll say name is equal to you. So now we have that, and all of our tests pass. All right, so that is our third solution. So we can go to the two for problem, and we say exercism. Nope, exercism submit 2 for pi. And I need to actually highlight the text. Actually go to the URL. Interesting. Why do I have not passing stuff? A value other than you let's look at these. I'm wondering what they think I did that could be better. Missing a doc string, I don't care. I'm not going to put doc strings in these example problems. Don't care. Essential, a value other than you is being used as a default argument and is considered an error. Well, that is categorically wrong because we saw the tests pass. A value other than you is being used as a default argument for this solution and is considered an error. That's not right. So I think what they're saying is we could make this solution so that if you don't do this, the default would be like this. And then we could get rid of this. In which case, at that point, you've got the test will still pass. So fine, we'll submit that and see if that makes their concerns go away. Conditionals are used unnecessarily. Making use of the default argument in combination with either string format can make the code clearer, and less verbose. All right. See if they get happier. Okay. They liked it when I made it just you. I'm not really, I don't know. That solution's fine. It doesn't feel right because it's not a name. So semantically, it just feels weird. But okay. I'm not going to complain that much. Let's look. What is this dig deeper thing? Oh, okay. There's some community video. Not weird necessarily. It might be cool, but I'm not going to spend time to watch that with you all. Then we've got a bunch of solutions. So this one's using format strings. This is using f strings. I think we're going to see a lot of the same kind of solution. This one put a type annotation on it there. Okay. Yep, cool. They're all about the same. All right. So we've done 3 exercises today. We've got more to do in the future that are, there's more of this resistor color stuff. I think these problems do, I've done this with Go exercises when I was learning the Go language in more depth, and they do start to get a lot more interesting as you get farther along. Again, many of these feel almost like warm-ups if you're an experienced Python developer, which I happen to be, but hopefully you learned something new along the way as we went through those exercises, and we'll call that a day for that. Let's turn our attention to the Django stuff that we were working on. And let me get set up over here. So we'll leave those for now, and we're back at the homeschool app. Let me do a poll here. I got some updates from some changes that I had to make with some dependency updates. Got those. So we now have a pip install thing here. So let's install our new requirements. Get us going, and then let's talk about the problem. So today we're working on this problem. This is my homeschool application. It's a Django app that I've been building for a couple of years, and it's fairly feature complete for what it needs to do, but it does benefit from having additional features that are requested by the small pool of users that I do have. And we're working on adding an ability to associate tasks with different resources that can be along to a course. So if you've never seen the stream before, the homeschool application is a scheduling tool. The job is to model what the students need to do as their work at a homeschool, and it's pretty robust about that. It shows whatever tasks are needed for a week, and my users have asked for, or one particular user has asked for, a way to make it easier to create a certain kind of task. And that kind of task is a task that is associated with what I call resources on the site. And a resource is something like a book or a movie, or anything that they might use as material for their course. So I think the example that I've been giving over the stream is if you are having your child read Tom Sawyer, and you want to split that over multiple chapters, and you want to do that over a number of days, then it would be nice to be able to use the feature that can generate multiple tasks at once and not have to type in the name Tom Sawyer into each task, but instead have Tom Sawyer, the resource, be there and connect that to the task so that when it's time to actually display chapter 1, it would show up as Tom Sawyer chapter 1 and so forth. We have already added the ability to connect a course resource to a task. We did that with a nullable foreign key on the course task model. And now we're going through the different parts of the user interface and connecting them so that they will display in this proper way. We had to do some performance work to make sure that we don't go crazy with our database queries because it's really easy to run away with this. And we need to hook it up into these other places before we can move on to the other parts of this, the actual exposing this feature as something that they can add in the editing forms. So this evening, we're going to focus on I would like to get all 3 of these done. It'd be nice to be done with the whole visual element of this. And then that would get us, we would have this item done, and then the performance kind of stuff goes along with this item, so those kind of go hand in hand. Well, it might go with the editing form a little bit. So I don't know if we're going to get to the editing or not. It depends on how long it will take to hook all of this into these other views. So we already added this to the course page task list, was the first place that this was present. And let's see what that looks like. I'm going to fire up the web server here, and we'll open up to port 5000 and take a look. Oh, I got to remember the login. What was it? I should save this, most likely. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, come on. There it is. Okay, cool. So here we are signed in, and I think I was adding these to piano lessons, which are they already present? I don't remember which things that we added it to directly, so let's look at this over here. And let's go to the course tasks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I added it to these piano lesson tasks. Yep, piano lesson book. So what we should see when we're done is piano lesson book : I think, and then the piano lesson task. And you can see that that's not showing up here on this weekly view, and it won't show up on this daily view either. But if we go to the school year and we look at the piano course, then we see where we've added it to 3 different tasks. It shows up as piano lesson book : and then piano lessons 1. So that is the outcome that we need to see on these other spots. So let's start with this daily view. And this will be nice that we won't have to worry too much about performance stuff because only one task can show up. That's mostly true. There's a way to get around that, but That should be that. So we want to go to, where is this? This is the core, and this is a core view, one of my oldest views in the app. And we want to go to daily. And here you can see that this thing is a class-based view, and it gets constructed. And there's actually a lot here that we're not going to get into. We don't need most of this, but we do need to go where their tasks are defined and annotate or work to get those particular tasks. So that there's a lot of logic that goes into this. If I had to do this over again, I probably would not put all of this in the view, but it was an expedient choice at the time that was useful. Yeah, you can just see that there's a ton of stuff that's going on in here. So we want to come down in here, and this is where the tasks are being pulled and fetched. Got the get tasks for. We want to probably select, make sure that we select the related course resource. This is the name of this thing. In fact, I want to make sure I get this model right. So let's look at the course models file. And it's down here, course task. So I called this resource as the foreign key. So when we're looking at what to select, do a select related on, when we can check the performance, we probably want to add resource to that list. Okay, so let's look at the template that populates this and see if we can provide everything that needs to be added. So let's go to template daily. It's going to be in here most likely, or it'll be in some template, sub-template that goes with it. So there's a bunch of stuff that shows up when there are no tasks. And so that has to be there. That's all this stuff at the top. And then we get down to, let's look for task. All right. So we have, there's the task. If, okay. So it's definitely in here. Now here, I think we can, let me stop that for a second. We can go to one of the previous commits, and what this is going to be for 851. So if we search for 851, we'll see the actual change we had to make was pretty minor. So let's look at the diff for this commit. Or yeah, new git show. I don't know why I was blanking on that. So if you want to look at the information about the commit, you can just git show, and it will give you all the details of what the actual change was. So here we can see we're updating the prefetch related. That's work that will come later. That was resources, which is something different. We need, at the task level, we need to call a resource. That's what we're after. But this is what I really wanted to show, that the change to the template was actually pretty minor. We dropped the dot description. And the reason we did that is because I made the string representation of the task smarter. And it looks for a course resource if it's there. So instead of accessing the description directly, we want to access the string representation of the task. So it should be a pretty simplistic change over in this daily template. We want to look for description, and there might be multiple instances of this in here. There do appear to be. The reasons for that are complicated. We're not going to go into that part either. We've got one at line 81, another at line 114 here, and those are the only two. So the solution should be to drop these two. We drop it there, and then we drop it here, and then we go back to our page, and let me restart the server so it will actually have something to show. But once we redo that, we should be able to come back here, and this should say piano, because This is one of the ones that had a resource attached to it, I believe. Confirm that. Piano Lesson 1 has the piano lesson book attached to it. So if we refresh this, we should see piano lesson book, which we do. Good. Now, time to do a little bit of debug work, or performance work. So let's turn on the debug toolbar and see how the performance is on this page. So we've got 34 queries, which is not awesome, but, and then let's refresh to make sure it's steady. Yep, 34. So here we are with the course resource thing multiple times. So what we want to do is, I think we want to add an extra thing here to make sure that we get the resource as we're getting the task. If we do that, then return to this. I'm hopeful that this number will go down, because it may not. It may just be a single access in this case because it's a daily view. There might not actually be benefit, but yeah, okay. It still managed to go down. So it might be that because the fact that this was looped on twice. So by showing up, by being prefetched and selected earlier and then stuffed into the data structure that's needed as it looped over this, it might have done some stuff to save a couple of queries when it's displayed twice for both of these students. So not a massive optimization, but still every little bit counts. So we've done the performance work for that, and I'm going to go ahead. Well, should I commit that? So there's the description, 3 lines. Let's test it. I don't think anything should change, but I've been surprised before by changes where maybe I'm checking a query count or something like that, and this query count might actually increase or... Nope, okay, we're all good. And we'll say, we'll go ahead and commit. And once pre-commit's done, we will be able to move on to the next piece. And the number is for 851. Okay. All right. So we want to say add course resources to tasks for daily view. And to give us some association with that GitHub issue, we'll say for 851. That way GitHub will find that that commit is related. I'm not going to push that up yet. There's no reason to do that, but we'll push it up when we're all done. I'm going to at least check it off over here though. All right, now it's time to do the same thing for the weekly view. In the weekly view, this is where the performance is going to be more important because there could be multiple of these tasks, and this could be definitely a bottleneck on some of these things. So let's come over here to the weekly view. I believe it might be so old that it has like a different, it's called the dashboard view. Like there's a bunch of stuff about this that makes it not awesome. Once upon a time, I was going to call it the app view, but then my domain, so the domain for this project is the schooldesk.app. So I was going to have it be the top where people would be /app, but then with a .app domain, that didn't make any sense. So I think I ended up calling it dashboard. Yeah. So the server's not running, so we can't see it, but so it becomes the schooldesk.app dashboard is what users typically see. But internally, I think of it as the weekly view because this is what the dashboard's all about. It's displaying the week that needs to be presented for all of the students. So now we are ready to move to the app template, which again is the weekly view, just given a poor name. And I'm going to search for description, and it's not in here, which tells me that it's probably in some other template. It's probably in this week schedules template, is my guess. And we've got, I'm going to go ahead and leave the debug toolbar on before we make any change here, so we can immediately see how many queries are at play. So this has 28 queries. Surprising that this has 28 queries while the other one had 32. That is really puzzling. How can this one be doing fewer queries? Something about it is more efficient. Whatever, not going to get into that. That is a mystery for another day. So we've got 28 queries as the baseline for what we're starting with here. And what we want to do is we want to go to the template, and I think I want to go to this core schedules file, core week schedules. And this is where description is going to show up. There it is. And it's just in these same two places. So let's just start by deleting the description thing, which should make it use the string method. So now that that's changed, this one should have piano lesson book, and this one should also have piano lesson book. But the query count is also going to go up with that change, and it might go up by 4, maybe even some other multiple. It's at 28 right now. Let's look at what it goes up to. All right, went up to 31. So I'm not sure why it went up by 3. That's really odd. I'm sure we could, it's deterministic, like, so I'm sure we could figure it out. But, well, it's not even deterministic. It's 32. Something must be getting cache for some of those. I don't know. How about if we undo that and return description for a moment and refresh this page? Okay, so 27 is the number in the steady state. So it must be the first time I visited this page, it was 28, and then something got cached, maybe a session, something along those lines. And now we're at a steady state of 27, which makes way more sense. If it goes up to 31 and we had 4 tasks on here, we're getting 1 query for each time the resource is being called. So let's delete that stuff again. Let's see it go back up to 31, which is expected. And now we need to come over here and we need to find where the tasks are and then correct this to do the optimization that we need. So we'll dig down here. Eventually, we will get to the right set of tasks, I believe. Get schedules. Nope. Get schedules. All right. Where are you? So in the name of this, in this view, the thing that we're after is something called a schedule. That's where I build it all together. That's where I associate the dates and the students. Okay, so we're able to say get schedules, and it's on the, I moved it to the school year at some point. So I did clean up this a little bit, and it's going down here. Got a fly next to me. And so that we get the schedule for the student. Okay. And getting in here. Now we're really down in here in the model. We're getting at the week schedule. So we're getting the course tasks. We're building that course tasks. Then we're doing the query. Get tasks for course. Oh man, is that a query set? I hope so. All right. So it does a select related on the grade level. I might want to go ahead, and this might come up multiple times. So I think this is the right place. No, this is the enrollment. That's not going to help. So if there's an enrollment, we want to get the course tasks for it. filter on that. I think we want to do this. I think this is where the select related needs to go. We want to select any related resource at this point. That is deep down in there. Which I'm not sure if I like that. If this percolates up, we might want to try and put this higher. Because I don't know that I always want to have this trying to get resources. But let's see if that even was the right place to go. Okay, so that gets us back down to the 27. Because it's done it all at the same spot. So this was the right place to put it in that context. Again, I don't know if that's where this is the best place for it though. Because if we put it up higher, so now we're back in, we're in the school. Well, are we in the school model? I don't think so. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is in the student. It's asking the week schedule from the student. So we have the course tasks here. We come in here and look at this query. So this does return a query set. So I could conceivably put a select related right here and not have that on the get tasks for course, which probably feels like the right thing to do, because not every time am I going to be asking for the task. Is that true? Let me think through this. If I get a list of tasks, am I going to be displaying them all the time? Like, how many times is this referenced? Let's use this one space. All right, so maybe it doesn't matter. Let's only use this one time. I think I'm okay with where I put it. We've got the performance optimization and the small change to get it on the weekly view. Let's run the tests and make sure there's no surprises for query counts. I don't think there should be, because we saw it was the same number before and after. That's good. And we're ready to commit that. Okay, so add course resource to tasks for weekly view. And this is for number 851. I think we have one more, right? Or I listed one more. Hopefully I was exhaustive in my thinking. So there's some tricky stuff with this one. The tricky bit is there's a task page. So I'm not sure if I actually want to do this description this way or not. Let's take a look at what it looks like. You can know what I'm talking about. Let's leave the debug toolbar on since we care about performance stuff this time. And let's go back over here. Not the main site, but over here. So if we come back to the school year and we go to piano, this is the listing page that shows all of the piano tasks. But we could, with this, dig into this and click this. And now we have a course task for piano, and we have the description here. So I think what this tells me is I don't actually want to update this. There's nothing to update here. What's not exposed here is the actual editing capability for this. We want to be able to associate a course resource, but by the time you get to this edit page, like, you don't need to separate the fact that description is piano lesson 1 and that there's a resource of Tom Sawyer associated with it. So I think instead what I want to do is say that that thing is not applicable. This task view, edit view is already correct. Are there other places that display tasks that I care about? There might be. Let's keep poking around. And I thought I looked at all these, but I might have missed one. I feel like, is there not a report that shows this stuff? So I have the reports that show progress, which I think is just like, now let's take a look at this. So there's a grade page, and if there are grades, it could show the task there. So there might be other stuff. Maybe another way to do this. I believe description is only used for that task model. I don't know that I use that for anything else. Or if I do, let's take a look. So let's see how often we find description. What are we looking at here? Course task. Yep. So, oh, there's some interesting stuff. Okay. Well, I guess that's fine. That stuff's going to be okay. School breaks also have a description, so we can't just do this blindly. There is a different thing that has a description, but that's fine. This is where the task is actually using it. And so we're in the templates section. All right, so here we are. The progress report PDF uses this. So that tells me that that report that was saying we didn't have a report yet is definitely going to need this. Which means we need to change that progress report PDF stuff. But I think that that's common code, so that's pretty easy to update. We've got these reports that we need to modify. And we don't, as I said, we don't need to modify the school break. That's something else. There is a bulk delete page that's going to show this. Okay. So there's some stuff there. So let me write these down before I forget them. So we have to update. What is the strike through? Is it tilde? I think it's tilde. Or either that or it's like double tilde. Okay. Cool. So we didn't need to do it there, but we do need to do it for progress report. And bulk delete. The task is like such a core concept of this app that this is affecting multiple places. And the fact that I'm switching how I've been displaying the description to switch to use the string representation is the reason why this is having such a rippling effect. If I had just started and treated things and not used description explicitly, but used the string representation from the start, I would be done with that part, but I actually have this problem with performance potentially. I'd have to go look at all these places anyway, which might be annoying. So maybe it's a good thing I did it this time. So we have the course task form, which is okay. We said that that doesn't need to change. The bulk form is probably not going to need to change either. Oh, the teacher checklist, right. Teacher checklist has one. And as I thought, the student grade page. Now, these may not mean anything to you, but these are all pages that are built into this app. Sometimes it's hard to be Well, it's hard to go through all of these things. And we've got the ask delete page. Those are base templates, those don't matter. The student coursework page. Where does that show up? Boo. Can't even think of that one. What is that? Coursework form. What? I've been working on this app for years, so there are pieces that I've apparently forgotten about. Student coursework form. All right. So let's get to it. There's more to do. I think one way that we can see these progress reports is by amending our thing to have a grade. So let's go. Let's see, we're still running the server. Let's go to piano lesson 1. And we're going to change it to be graded. All right. So now, if we go to the students' grades, is there anything to input? Nope. Gotta make them do it. So we're going to go to the today view, and we're going to mark this first lesson. You can see that's now graded work. So we're going to mark this as done and save it. It's going to take us to the grade page, and we can say, Mark did a great job. He got 100. Save that. Now we have one of these completed. We also get to see that this works even when it's been the completed version of this, which was the flip. That's why we had 2 of those instances on the daily view. There was both the unhighlighted version or the ungrayed out version when it's active, or the grayed out version when it's deleted. But if we go to the report section and we look at Mark's progress report now, we can see here it is. We have piano lesson 1. Okay. So let's do this. We're going to go to progress report. There's 2 of these pages. There's the PDF one, which we're not going to do. We're not going to do the whole PDF process. You'll see that the data is the same where it's coming from. So I'm going to take this on faith that deleting the dot description will do what we need to do. We'll see that. Excuse me. We'll see that when we look at the HTML version of this. So let's look for description and do that. And so now the number of queries is going to go up. And this page can be populated with a lot of stuff, so we definitely don't want this to be inefficient. So this is going to should go from 7 to 8, and it did. But if we had, hundreds of these things that all had resources associated with them, which I suspect we might for a family that wants to use lots of books and they want to assign materials, like if you had an English class that had just tons of books in here, that would be a lot of extra queries. We definitely need to make sure that that's correct. So let's go to the reports views and see where these things are built. And I've got some helpers here that are building this context that's needed for these different kinds of views. We've got the progress report, and this is the make progress report is the thing that we care about, which takes a context, which is the progress report context. So if there are places where that exists, we're going to see them in these 2 views, and we're going to make sure that they are past the right data. So we've got progress report context here. We've got from enrollment. This is the thing that we need to go fix. I think this will allow us to fix it in just one place. So go to this implementation here. This is all the data that has to go in here. It's doing this stuff to pull all the necessary data. And then we need to get the different tasks, which are right. Oh man, where is this? I'm like having a hard time even seeing this. Wow, that one's complicated. So task is in here somewhere, but it's not coming up obviously. Graded work course task. There it is. So we need to look for the graded work association. Graded work. I spelled that wrong. Graded work. Okay, where is this course task? Did I not? There it is. Okay. It's deep through this connection here, through the grade. So we want to switch grade. So we want to add to this list. We want to say it's already got the course, you can see. So it's doing some already quite a bit of select related work here. And so we want to add to this and we want to say graded work course task resource. And if we save that, black should reformat it so we can at least see that stacked up nicely. And now, coming back here, this should drop back down to 7, which it did. So cool. So we're back at the efficient thing. And since this context is used by both the HTML and the PDF report, I'm not worried about the performance degrading on the PDF side because it's built the exact same way. So that's good. That one is done. Okay, bulk delete. Bulk delete. It's been a while since I have done some of these things. Let's go look at the bulk delete page. So if we go to the school year, it's testing my memory of where did I put all these features. Go to here, delete multiple tasks. That's bulk delete. So this thing should be showing the other version. Right now it's 18 queries. That's pretty consistent. So we want to go to bulk delete, bulk, and this is the part we want to remove, the dot description. So that's going to fix that, but it's going to show up as, I think, 3 additional queries for this. So that should jump to 21, I think. Yep, 21. So we need to go, this is in the courses section of the system. Let's go to the courses views and look for bulk delete course tasks. Where is it getting all the data from? Is it coming from this form set? I don't remember. Form set, course task. Jeez. That is a form set that's created locally. The is getting a query set here that starts out with a course task objects none. And we might need to extract that and just reuse it. So if I say course task query set, or just do QS, and course task dot objects none. Wow. And we should be able to replace this thing with course task Q task US. Okay, then we should be able to do the same here. So those should be equivalent. So that has not solved the performance problem though. We go over here, we're still gonna have 21. But now I think we should be able to come up to this course task query set thing here and say select related resource. Now I think this is done so that when the form is being built, it knows to what to go fetch. I'm hoping this is the fix. Nope. Okay. Boo. Well, do I need this to be efficient? How often is this bulk view used? Or maybe that's a defeatist mentality. Maybe I should pause for a second, see like where am I putting this in the wrong spot? So what's happening? Let's go dig into like, when is this actually happening? You can see the resource is happening at the bottom when it's being used, but when are these course tasks actually being fetched? And we can dig into the debug toolbar and dig down into here. It is happening, bulk. Okay, so maybe I'm in the wrong section. Where am I? Bulk, oh, this is bulk create course task. No wonder I'm in the wrong, okay. Boo, boo, boo. All right. Let's go update the right chunk of code. This is why you pay attention. You need to pay attention. So get course task context. What? Course tasks context. Get course tasks context. There we go. Right? Get forecasts. What? What is all this? Get task items. Forecaster? Why is all that showing up in here? And I implemented this in a pretty weird way. Okay. Get task items. Good grief, Matt. What did you do? What did you do? Get task items. Yikes. There it is. So we can either say like that. Is that the right spot? Yep. Still 21. But that's because there's no student being passed in. So I think we are missing a select related here as well. Oh, come on. All right. What's failing? Let me make sure I'm looking at this properly. Get coursework, get tasks for. So this should be the course tasks, which I would expect that to do a select related. And then it's iterating over them. But by that time, it should have the appropriate resource attached to it. But what failed? So where? Looking at the query, I don't see any join. There it is. There's a left outer join on the course resource, so it should have. I would think that that would have pulled those, but it didn't. Because, okay, so we did put it in that right spot. So if we didn't have the select related part here, took that off, and then we refresh this, still gonna be 21. We come back here and look at this same course task thing. Oh no, okay, maybe I'm wrong. So there's an outer join. All right, let's check the template and make sure that I have the right understanding of the context. So we've got course tasks are coming from the view. Let's since I'm not sure about this change right now, let's just get out of here. Man, there's so much stuff in this view. Why is this view so complicated? Aha! Here are the course tasks for the bulk delete view. So I made this way harder than I needed to. I was going down in here, but the tasks are above. So it seems to be we need to go into this thing, get course task query set. This is also some old code, y'all. This is why it is this confusing. Sometimes it just happens in apps, like you do the thing to make something right, and what the heck? That's now resource. Did I find it? The right one? 18. Okay. That's where I expected it to be. All right. So if we look at that set of SQL queries again, we're not going to see the resources at the bottom. Instead, if we look at the course task, we should probably see some kind of join. Well, that's still that outer join thing. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe I'm missing it. Oh man, there's some gnarly queries in here though. All right, not gonna worry about all those. Let's declare victory and move on to the next one. So in here we've got, this was the I think we've got multiple mixed in here. I didn't commit them separately, so I should have, but oh well. So this is both the progress report and the bulk delete. Add course resources to tasks in progress report and bulk delete for 851. Okay. What's left? A bunch. We've got this task delete page. I don't really even remember. I thought I made that. Where is that? Oh, I remember now. Let's leave here. Let's go, because there's a way to dynamically do this with HTMX, which is not going to matter. It doesn't need to display this, but there's another page here. So if I click delete here, it takes you to this, which now has the description. Yeah. So this one should be pretty quick and easy. Delete view. Should be a task view. There we go. We're going to go ahead and add the resource. Okay. And then coming over to the course forms, we want the course task confirm delete view, which should do that. Now, if we refresh this page, still have 5 queries, and we have the appropriate description. Okay, let's commit that one. That's a quick and easy one. They're getting easier as we're seeing these. It's the same pattern. Find the performance spot, delete the description aspect. So we just use the string representation. Add course resource to task for delete confirmation page. That's for number 851. Okay. That gives us this. The student grade page. Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's I see. Now, I think we saw the grade page too, but I wasn't paying enough attention at the time, and I missed it. So the student grade page is when you want to get here. There's like if there's something to grade, it will show up here. Let's go back to the daily view, and we're going to uncheck this. Or I think, how did I do this? Where was it? I think I can go to the piano page. Yeah. Here's Mark's grade. And I believe I can set this, delete that, and save it. No. I thought I made this so I could have nothing and it would work. I'm wrong. Oh. Okay, so that didn't work. So now we have here. Can't delete this, huh? That's a bug. Because I have a feeling my users are just working around that by putting in some other grade and then remembering that, like leaving a sticky note or something. It's pretty crappy. Crappy experience. Okay. For now, let's update this to look at the graded work. Or where does this show up? This is a student thing. Go to the grades, and we'll just delete this grade manually. It's not a feature that they have access to, but I can do it. Delete that. And delete the grade object. So now that grade's gone. Sorry, Mark. Okay, so if we go back to the daily view and mark this as complete again, it's still a graded work, so it still needs a grade. So here, aha. So I missed this the first time. So we've got piano lesson 1. This is the page that we want to be able to check this off for. Yeah, that's what I call that's what's called the student grade page. Oh, I guess we did the task delete. We knocked that one out quickly. I didn't knock out the teacher checklist. I read that wrong. Oops. Okay. Where do we need to go? Grade. Why are there 2 of these? There's the grade form. Oh, that's if you're just adjusting the score. There's another one. Oh my word. They just are like multiplying. Is that the coursework form, or is that something different? That's the grade form. Yikes. So am I looking at the grade form, or am I looking at... This is the grade page. There's a grade page, and there's like the page that this could have multiple things on it where you can input scores all at once. There's also the page where you can edit one at a time. Both of them need to be updated to be accurate. So let's put that on the list so we don't forget it. So that's the grade page, and this is the grade individual task grade form. Okay, so let's start with the grade page because that's what I already have loaded up here. And we've got description right there. We delete that. And we can come over to this page. See, it's 14 queries. That's going to go to 15 queries. 15. So we now need to go to the grade page, which is part of the Students app. Students, views, grade. What's it called? Student grade form view. Graded work. Course task. Where am I getting the course task from? Am I getting that from a decorator? Oh boy. All right. So we need to do select related. I don't like this because this is a pretty generic spot of code, and now I'm putting in that it has to fetch a resource here. That doesn't feel good. Wasn't even the right one, apparently. Still saying 15. Let's delete that because I'm not confident that that was the right spot. Oh, that's the grade form. That's the one we're going to see in a minute. Okay, so students URLs. What's the page that I'm actually looking for? Grade view. Here we go. Get graded work. Graded work. There it is. Okay, here it is. So we want course task resource. Like that. Now it should drop to 14. Yeah. So that's the two changes for the grade page. Add course resource to tasks for grade page for number 851. Okay. So this is the individual task grade form. That's what we just saw as this thing. And so now that let's complete this loop here. So let's run the site. Let's put in a score. Let's put in 95. Save it. And now I want to be able to edit this. So this is the page we're talking about. So this needs to say that full thing, which we can do by dropping .description like all these others. Now we have the full thing. Okay, in this circumstance, that view that we were looking at, the grade, what was it? I thought it was grade, oh, come on. Wrong file. Student views, grade form. So because this thing is using this mixin that gets used all over the place, in order for me to get the right data for this resource, I would have to add that to that mixin, which I really don't want to do because it's going to add it to a bunch of different spots potentially. Let's see, how many times is this used? I mean, maybe not too many spots. I think I've reduced the usage for this pretty significantly, but it is data that doesn't need to be there. And this is only one thing. I'm okay in the spot doing one extra query. I'm not really taking a big performance hit there. We're going to call this one done. Yeah, just that one change. Add course resource to task for grade form for 851. All right, getting there, almost done, I think. I gotta go remember what this student coursework form even is. That one is like, I'm still not sure. But let's do the teacher checklist first. So the teacher checklist is kind of like the week view, but it's in a table style. It was requested by a user so that she could have a printout for her week. We go to the week. This is what we've got, but we can go to the teacher checklist and we see this. Pretty boring, but that's what the person was looking for. So what needs to be added here is the removal of description. So this is a teacher's view, the checklist, and we need to get the data, which is coming from school year get schedule. So that might actually already be optimized because I think we went down this route, didn't we? Because for the student get the week schedule. So that should be good to go because we already optimized the week view. It's the same code path. I tried to use the same exact data structure. So in this case, there might not actually be any change when I optimize the queries. So it's running 23 queries right now. Let's go to the teacher checklist and look for description here. delete dot task or dot description, and it's still 23. All right, that one was nice and easy. Great. Fascinating. So anyway, something else I'm observing, but that's just, I think it's working as expected, but it's a little bizarre. So that knocks off the teacher checklist. That one was nice and easy. Add course resource to task for teacher checklist for 851. One more, I think. Yeah. What is this one? Coursework form. I don't remember. So let's go figure out what it is, and then we'll fix it. Students coursework form. Set. Ah, okay. I see it. Debug. Go back to school year. Look at piano. So this has been marked as whenever a task is completed. It's now coming back to me. I create a record called a coursework to indicate that something has happened. So it has it's basically an association of a student and a task, and then the date that they did it, and that's editable here. And so it lists out piano lessons 1 right there. This is a pretty easy one to fix. And this might be another one that uses that mix-in, so we might just be fixing the template only. It's doing 8 queries right now. That's okay. Drop that, and it should go to this, go up to 9. So this is in the student views file, and we want the course work form. Go to this place where it's used. Yeah, it's using that mix-in, so I'm not going to bother adding the resource to the specific task because that would be a pain. I'd have to add the mix-in. Although at this point, if both of the things are using the resource, because I don't think there were actually many things using the mix-in anymore. So we have, this is where the mix-in is defined in the course. I tried to move away from this mix-in because it wasn't the best pattern. And then we have the import in the student views, and then these 2 forms. Okay, I'm convincing myself that actually let's just go ahead and fix it on the form or on the mix-in because both of them use it. We can say here, select related resource. And since I'm not planning to use that much in the future, it's okay. So this should go to 8, and it did, and the other one would have gone to 7 or whatever, the one less than the whatever it was. All right. And that gets us the last form. Add course resource to task for coursework form. And that fixes 851. The difference between for and fixes is that fixes will actually close the issue in GitHub. Now let's run our test to make sure I didn't break anything. Then we're going to push it up. Cool. It all looks good. So I'm going to push that up. And we should be able to see that now gets closed. Let's mark that off. So these are all the spots that tasks get displayed in the app, and they all had to be cleaned up. Now, hopefully I'm not messing with the string representation of that anymore, because I have to go through and find all of these spots, perhaps more in the future, and then update them so that they're doing the proper select related calls to be efficient on the database. But I think that's where I probably want to end for this evening. Wasn't exactly the most glamorous of activities this evening, but that's sometimes the way it goes with projects like this. Sometimes programming is not glamorous work, and it just needs to be methodical and make sure you're doing your due diligence, because in the end, it's ultimately like I want to make sure that my customers stay happy. And if I deliver them a slow application, that's not a good experience. So we're one step closer. The next phase of this project that should wrap it up is actually now taking what this ability that's here, this foreign key, and actually exposing it in the right forms. Because as it exists currently, the only way to access this feature is by going into the admin interface and making the associations and connections there. Obviously, the users can't do that, so they don't even know this feature exists. So it's safe for me to deploy this out. The code is safe such that if it does a check and says, if you have this, display it. If you don't do anything. And so since nobody has it, it's not going to display anything. There's not going to be any penalties, really. There will be the request for resources that won't have anything. So there's a slight performance hit there on the database as it's doing a more complicated join, but there's otherwise no impacts to the user. So this mode of like setting up the data model and then setting up all of the stuff that will need to be in place, and then finally putting this last bit in place of making this form available is a sequence that gets me to the point where when the feature is finally done, it becomes like it's on everywhere for everybody. The other way to sequence this is I could have done the model, and then I could have enabled the editing form experience so that the user might notice that want to add resources, but then they would come back to me and say, hey, it's not showing up here, and hey, it's not showing up here. And so I'd be playing catch up on all of the places to display. So exposing the feature to the user is the last step through that editing experience. And we'll work on that the next time I stream. So I'm going to end there this evening. Thank you for joining in. I know it was a quiet group this evening, but that's okay. Hopefully you caught something out of this, learned a little bit about performance. Hopefully the repetition informed why this was happening and what was going on. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care.